Hi everyone, I hope you are all doing good. Welcome to my channel Inclusive Bharat. And welcome to the daily editorial analysis of the Hindu newspaper. In this video we shall discuss the important editorial of 21st December 2023. These are the 4 articles taken up for discussion. Let's discuss the article one by one. Let's discuss the first article, a security breach that must lead to sweeping changes. The article discusses a security breach that occurred on December the 13th, involving 2 individuals who entered the Lok Sabha, the lower house of India's parliament, and released yellow smoke canisters, while shouting slogans against dictatorship. The incident is seen as a significant breach of security, given the fortified measures in place since a terrorist attack on parliament in 2001. The author, Yashovardhan Azad, who is the chairman of Deep Strat and a former Central Information Commissioner and retired Indian Police Service officer, analyzes the security lapse. Despite the multiple security layers, including barriers, scanners, RFID devices, and manpower, the breach occurred due to failures in the personal screening of visitors. The standard operating procedures, which did not include checking shoes for non-metallic items, were followed, leading to the security lapse. The article raises questions about the responsibility for security, especially concerning the induction of new technology. Key positions, such as the Joint Secretary, Security, and Chiefs of Security Forces, are vacant. The Ministry of Home Affairs, MHA, is responsible for Parliament's security, and the author questions whether the MHA suggested upgrading access control and screening technology. The absence of coordination and responsibility between the Parliament Secretariat and MHA is highlighted. The article emphasizes the need for a high-level inquiry, suggesting that the breach is a matter of national security. It proposes a committee comprising MPs from various parties to oversee security measures, recommends the Secretary, Security, in the Cabinet Secretariat to supervise Parliament security, and calls for constant monitoring and upgrades to security infrastructure. The incident is compared to a similar breach in 2001, highlighting the continuous threat to security and the importance of adapting to new technologies and potential risks. The author concludes that the breach should be an opportunity for sweeping changes in the security setup, including technological advancements and better coordination among security agencies. That's it about this article. Let's discuss the next article, India's defense budgeting and the point of deterrence. The article discusses India's defense budgeting and its impact on deterrence capabilities, particularly in light of the challenges faced by the Indian Air Force, IAF. The Medium Multi-Role Combat Aircraft (MMRCA) program faced delays and reduced procurement, leading to a decline in squadron strength. The author highlights concerns about the overall preparedness of the Indian military, including the Army and Navy. With India heading into elections and potential budget constraints, there's a worry that defense allocations in the upcoming budget might be compromised. The key question raised is whether budget limitations should dictate defense capabilities, or if the actual requirements and effectiveness should drive budget allocations. The author emphasizes the real and imminent threat on India's northern borders, and cautions against dismissing the Western neighbors' seemingly peaceful stance as a reduction in risk. The need for a careful assessment of India's war strategy is highlighted, especially in the current political climate. The article also touches upon the necessity of enhancing sea power to counter China's influence in strategic regions. It stresses the importance of modernizing the army and the substantial budget required for such efforts. The military's pre-Russia-Ukraine war planning focused on a short and intense conflict, but recent developments have prompted a shift toward preparing for extended war scenarios. The author acknowledges the importance of technological modernization and the development of a local defense industry. Despite the government's push for self-reliance in defense, at Manabha Bharat, a realistic view is suggested, considering the time required to build a robust indigenous defense industry. The financial aspect is addressed, highlighting that India's defense budget, when adjusted for inflation, has remained largely stagnant. The article notes a decline in defense expenditure as a percentage of the central government's overall spending. There's also a shortfall in the capital acquisition budget, with the Ministry of Defense receiving less than requested for the year 2023-24. The article critiques the low allocation for research and development (R&D), citing India's position in the Global Innovation Index. While the government's initiatives like Innovations for Defense Excellence, IDEX, and other service-specific projects are praised, the author calls for sustained momentum, continuity in policy, and a defense budget that remains unaffected by electoral considerations. In conclusion, the author argues against compromising national security for electoral gains, pointing to global geopolitical shifts driven by China's actions. The article emphasizes the need for a well-funded strategic defense budget to address contemporary security challenges. That's it about this article. Let's discuss the next article. Climate action needs an updated lexicon. The article discusses the need for an updated lexicon or vocabulary in the context of climate action, especially concerning the language used to describe and understand the impacts of climate change. The author highlights the concept of shifting baselines, where changes in perception over time lead to underestimation of environmental losses. This distortion affects our understanding of resources, future projections, and the level of acceptable loss. The article points out that our current understanding of climate-related terms comes from technical jargon used in reports from various agencies, such as the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC. Examples include scenarios like RCP 8.5 for warming and shared socio-economic pathways, SSPs, for countries. The author argues that these terms may not be easily accessible to the general public and may not capture the full complexity of climate impacts. The role of official language, or officialese, is emphasized as crucial in translating complex scenarios into actionable policies. The author suggests that localizing officialese at the state level can provide more context and help communities better memorialize their experiences. However, the article also acknowledges the challenge of balancing the need for rapid updates in language with the risk of hindering reliable communication. The piece illustrates the importance of official language in shaping public perception and government responses to climate-related events. It cites examples such as the classification of rainfall intensity by the India Meteorological Department and the impact of official language on attributing causes of death during disasters, such as the COVID-19 pandemic. The article concludes by highlighting the global implications of officialese, particularly in the context of the Loss and Damage Fund. Developing countries argue for disbursement based on the severity of climate-related disasters rather than the location, emphasizing the need for new official words to accurately describe unprecedented events and prevent confusion or misinterpretation. That's it about this article. Let's discuss the next article, Outcomes of the COP28 Climate Summit. The 28th session of the Conference of the Parties, COP, took place in Dubai, with expectations for concrete actions to address the climate crisis. The outcomes included progress on certain fronts, but challenges in various areas. The Loss and Damage (L&D) Fund, agreed upon at COP27, was operationalized at COP28, but only $790 million has been pledged so far, falling far short of the required amount. Concerns about fund management, the World Bank's oversight, and the preference for direct funding access for affected communities arose. COP28 featured the first global stocktake, GST, to assess progress towards Paris Agreement goals. While countries committed to transitioning away from fossil fuels and tripling renewable energy capacity by 2030, the use of fossil fuels in certain sectors and the inclusion of unproven technologies like carbon capture and storage raised concerns. Green finance mechanisms were addressed, emphasizing developed nations' responsibility and the private sector's role. The Green Climate Fund received $3.5 billion in support, and new partnerships aimed to mobilize funds for renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and infrastructure. However, funds fell short of the estimated annual requirement for adaptation. India did not sign the Climate and Health Declaration due to concerns that reducing greenhouse gas emissions in the health sector could compromise healthcare infrastructure development. Additionally, India did not join the Global Methane Pledge, focusing on methane instead of carbon dioxide and prioritizing the livelihoods of small farmers. Notable achievements at COP28 included declarations on climate and health, nature-based solutions for biodiversity and climate, and transitioning to sustainable food systems. However, challenges persisted, including disagreements on fossil fuel subsidies, market mechanisms, fund management, and private sector involvement in climate action. In summary, COP28 had positive steps like increased renewable energy targets, but faced challenges in areas such as loss and damage funding, fossil fuel use, and financial resource allocation. The outcomes reflect a mixed bag of achievements and unresolved issues in addressing the global climate crisis. That is all for the day. If you like my initiative, do like the video and share it to the peer groups. And subscribe to the channel for further updates. Thank you.